Hello everyone, welcome back. Last episode we covered how to get the PSD into spine. Today I'm going to cover basic rigging things. So what I mean by that is getting a skeleton into this girl, just a basic one. We're not going to work on any advanced techniques right now. The purpose of this tutorial is getting you started. Because of that, in this episode we're not going to cover weights, just bones. But before we do bones, there's a couple things I want to do to kind of get this girl set up a little bit. For one, we need to adjust some of her slots. What I mean by that is if you go to the draw order, these are your slots. It's basically different pieces of the art that is going to be eventually hooked up to your rig. And what I want to do is get it to where this bow is under her head. This shouldn't be over it. Also, I want to have it to where the hand is above the skirt and kind of above the head. Because if you take, like layer wise, if you take your hand, kind of move it in front of you, it goes in front of your face, right? So we're going to layer it like hand, arm, head. And also, we're going to be duplicating some of these frills because I figured we could just reuse them and save some space in the export image. So to move slots around, what you want to do is go to this drop-down menu that says Draw Order, and then look for it. So you can see bow tie. I have the bow ties as separate pieces because I want them to be attached to different bones. So bow tie front, middle, and dangle. Hit shift and drag to select multiple things if you want to. So I'm just going to take these, you left click and you hold it down, similar to if you were going to be doing something in Photoshop or some other layer like system. Now, you'll see I kind of want her collar too. If you hit control click, then you can skip some layers while you're trying to select multiple layers. And we want it underneath her head. Her head layer is right here where it says noggin. So I'm going to click and drag this down here underneath noggin. And there it goes. But now you can see it's underneath her torso. That's fine. Before you start rigging, basically what you want to do is make sure that your slot order is exactly how you want it. So I'm going to take some time and rearrange these slots, and then I'll get back to us duplicating the frills to show you how to duplicate art before you get to rigging it. I arranged it about how I wanted it. You'll see something kind of weird. I'm not crazy. Her suspender over here, it doesn't really fit with her body. And there is actually a reason for that. Rigging wise, it is much easier to take a straight line like a box and curve it using meshes than it is to take a curved thing and make it look straight or some other different shape. And the reason I did that is because I want to eventually make it to where there's like a 2D kind of look for this. Today's episode, I am actually going to turn this off because I want you to be able to see without it being distracting. And also, it's not very important for the basic rig. With the basic rig, again, we're not going to be using any meshes, and I want you to see kind of the most puppety version that you can get, but it's fast and it'll get you going. Now that we did the slot order like we need to, I want to duplicate these frills here. So to do that, I'm going to look for it under her root, which by the way, you can rename this if you want. So let's say you double click to rename something, and I'm going to do noms root master. Noms master. Okay, so this will be her master moving control. What that means is this. Basically, you can, wherever you move this bone, her entire body's going to come with her. Every skeleton is going to be parented to this guy unless you change it up to here, but I want it to be here. You can change the look of this. If you go underneath here, you can change the icon, and they give you a whole bunch of cute or cool, however you want to define, icons. I personally do really like changing the icon buttons based on what the bone will be doing. A lot of times for this, I'll use this 4-pointed arrow or a cog screw kind of deal. Or if you want to, this is the master, it's a star, whatever you want to do. I'm going to do the 4 arrows. You can also have it to where it shows the name, like it can get kind of clustery, but it also can be very helpful if you see all the names of the bones. And you can have it to where you can select it or not. That's usually like something for the rigger to keep animators clicking from what they don't need to click. So other options here are for the future. I'm not going to deal with them right now, right? That's the master, but we're wanting to duplicate the frills. So what we're going to do is we're going to go underneath this master. You see all these slots, and we're going to just click it, the one that says frill, and then down here you see there's a few buttons. There's this guy, which will take you directly to the draw order where we were able to say what layers go where. Click it, it'll take you back to the rig. And then there's this, which we're actually looking for. This duplicates it, but just so you know, you can also rename it here if you don't want to, double click it. Just so you know, if you're renaming a slot, it's going to give you the option to rename the attachment. This can break your images. I will show you. Frill Boobly Bear. Oh no, my image is missing. Well, that's because it's looking for image frill boobly bear, which don't exist. So be careful when you're renaming your slots. Frill boobly bear is fine, but just uncheck the rename attachment issue. Done and done. Other things you can do, you can change the color of your attachments in this same area. So, I want my frills to be red now. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. I want my frills to be see-through. Yay, invisible frills. You can also animate those effects, by the way. And then you can change the blending. I will say you should be kind of careful with these things. Sometimes they're not so friendly for the developers, the engineers, and you should definitely talk to your engineers before deciding to do all this and see what limitations and specs you have to deal with. But they have a few. They have additive, they have multiply, and screen. Very cool stuff. But frill, duplicate. And we're just going to move this where I want to. We talked about this in the intro, but I'm going to be using my short keys. C is rotate, V is moving things, and X is scaling things. Well, actually, we do need to scale it. That's what I'm going to do. She has a very frilly dress, so we're going to be adding a lot of frills. So I'm going to duplicate this a few times, and I will be changing the draw order of it because some of the frills I want to go behind her legs, right? And these will just kind of be moving with her skirt. So we're going to continue doing this. And some of these I'll want to flip, for variation. If you go over here and you type in negative, you'll see that it flips it horizontally. If you go over here, you'll do it vertically. These are good things to know. It just gives you some quick flipping. But I'll let you know if you want to animate that. Like if you're just like, I'm going to quickly animate it going from left to right. It's going to be a quick flip. It's not a big deal. That's not going to work. It's going to Paper Mario you. And what that means is it's basically going to do this, which is not a realistic flip, though it works in Paper Mario, but not so much in most animations. So I'm going to duplicate the frill one more time. Put it over here, kind of scale it. Well, it was rotating, wasn't it? But also, I want to take these back frills and kind of darken them a little bit. So again, I'm going to go to the color wheel and do like that so that they're kind of tinted without me having to make new art for it. Can you do this all the time? Not really. But when you can get away with it, get away with it. So we're going to fast forward a little bit here because I want to readjust my slots so that these new frills go where they need to go. And there you have it. So now we have a fully frilled up little Lolita skirt of sorts. I could technically go ahead and duplicate these eyes and the glasses, everything I need to, but I'm not going to yet. And the reason, because I want to go ahead and make bones and assign them to the art so that I only have to do that once. So we're going to go back to where we're at the Noms Master here. And over here, you'll see, so you have your rotate stuff, and then you have these other cool tools, which is create, which is the one you mostly want to pay attention to. Weights, we'll get into that later. And pose, not important right now. But there's also these other tools. So you see this arrow thing here? This means you can or cannot click an item. So what I mean by that is if you click off and I click this button, see it doesn't have the white dot anymore. It says bones. I cannot click the bones. It's not going to happen. If I click the image one, I can't click anything but the bones. And by others, that's usually like paths and inverse kinetics and whatnot. And you can do similar things. You can see the bones or not see the bones. You can not see the images. You can see the tags. You can see all the image tags. This might be helpful if you don't really know what's what. Like, let's say someone gave you the art and you didn't bother to look at the folder. Well, now you can see over here, okay, that's her tongue, there's her blush, there's her teeth, and you can label accordingly. This over here is having things affected. So for instance, last video, you saw me kind of moving this around to try and get her back at the top, this little crosshair. Well, if I were to click images and I move this bone, you can see it's not moving her images. It's not moving what it should be affecting. This is so helpful because if you mess something up, which you inevitably will mess something up, I still mess things up all the time. It's super easy to fix because you can just be like, oops, don't affect the bones that it's supposed to be affecting and let me change where that bone is sitting. Or, don't affect the images. This pixel thing is new. I say leave it alone for now. For the basics, it's probably not important, to be honest with you. Local, parent, and world, we'll probably get into that the more we rig. So just keep it on local for right now. So we're going back to the noms master. What I'm going to do is go and hit create bone. And what we're going to do is start with like her pelvisy area. So I'm just going to click right up there and we're going to move it to a little nicer spot here. Now I do know her neck needs to be there. So I'm going to move this here and I'm going to make it this little cogwheel. And then we're going to hit create. We're going to make a couple spine areas. So I'm going to do one here, one here, one for her neck, and one for her head. So it's not perfectly straight. That is up to you. I know the spine, the human spine, is kind of curved a bit. So I personally like to have my character spine curved a little bit. One thing you can do is if you made your bone too long, which I very much did a little bit, if you click V, so the little arrows will go up here, and you scroll to the top, you're looking for this icon here. It's a circle with two red lines that are arrows, and you just click and you drag it down. And I'm going to kind of move these down because it needs to go there. And I'm going to make this one a little longer and then drag this up to be about there. Is it a little OCD? A little bit. You see it has noms master. These aren't the most helpful names. You can select those and rename them. I'm going to name these spine, like that. But I'm also going, and you can see it named it like spine. Well, it started with that blank, so I'm just going to change that to 01, spine 02, spine 03, and I'm going to actually change this one to noggin bone, or just noggin, really. That's perfectly fine. And if you want, you could change that to neck. I could have just named these individually, but just so you know, you can select multiple bones, rename them very quickly. So we have her things here, and then I'm going to make her some legs. So I'm going to click on the pelvis bone. I'm going to click down here, and what you want is for the end of this to be where the knee rotates at. So I'm going to have it about here. We might have to adjust it based on the art. We're going to have it about here, and then I'm going to take it down here to the tip of her foot, and this is the bottom. Now, this rig kind of cheats because she don't have real feet. It's like these little stubbins that she's working with. So now we have her leg. In a bit, I'll make it an IK, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So we have her leg here. If you want, to make it more of a straight leg, that is perfectly fine. Honestly, sometimes because of the IKs, it makes it a little easier for me to not have a perfectly straight leg because sometimes the computer gets confused and her legs would bend more like a bird than this way. It's up to you though. And so we have her leg. So that's working. And now I'm going to rename this leg front, or you could do leg right or left if that's how you want to do it. Some people like to do it from the character's left. I like to do it from my left because it helps my brain more. So then we're going to go here, and this one's going to be a little tricky. Usually when you draw characters getting ready to be rigged, you want to do either a good A pose or a T pose. I didn't super consider it. That is my bad. And so she's like in this weird pose that isn't great for anyone. Whatever, I can fix it pretty quickly once I rig her. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a clicking. And doing one click will let you have one bone that's not an entire like long bone. And this is going to be kind of like her shoulder bone. And then I'm going to click here. See, that's like where her elbow would be. And then I'm going to click down here. And then where her wrist is, I'm going to do one more. So you can also see, I'm glad they brought it up. You can see what's parenting where. There's little arrows, and these arrows are saying, okay, well, you're parented to this bone. And what that means is when I rotate this, you can see her arms would go with her because of course it would. Now she has some arm things going on. And basically that's kind of how you would go. If you want to start differentiating bones from other bones, you can also click multiple bones by holding down Control and clicking on the bones right here. And you can change the color of the bones. So I personally like doing this. It helps me differentiate my left from right when it comes to like doing turns and stuff. And I like doing warm colors that are facing the camera and cool colors that are like away. And this is very helpful for me anyway when it comes to run cycles especially, or walk cycles, because sometimes, I'm not going to lie, I lose track of what foot or what leg is actually in front of the other. Sounds weird, but it happens for me anyway. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign the art to the bones. So for instance, we have this arm, and I want to go ahead and get this straight. So I'm just going to go ahead and assign her arm correctly. Oops, that is named wrong. We're going to assign the slots to the things. So we're going to start by finding her arm, arm, and we're going to take and drag it down to her arm. And we don't have to put all that in the hand. That would be silly. But I just did it to kind of do this quickly. So her arm bottom would go pretty much where the bone is, right? And then her hand would stay where it's hand. Her arm frill, I'm gonna keep it on the hand for right now. I'm kind of indecisive if I want to keep it to arm bottom or hand top, but arm top up here. And so we have that. So now we can take this, so I'm just gonna do like this, and put her hand where it needs to go. I'm gonna straighten out her arm a bit. Okay, and you'll notice, since we're here, you'll notice that the arrows are no longer straight. So you see with this one how it's like perfectly straight, and then all of a sudden these are kind of turned with the bone. That's definitely turned with the bone. That's because it's local. So the rotation, the translation is considered only by the bone positioning. That's great for if you want to like move something exactly up and down or left and right from its actual position. But let's say you wanted to do it up and down from like the world's perspective. If you click on the world, suddenly the translation of the specific bone doesn't specifically matter. It's just that. And then this is based on what the parent's translation is. It's very useful for trying to rotate things and move things along their axis. There they are. So we're going to do that. I'm going to find the legs top, legs bottom. I'm going to put it down with her leg front. It's better, honestly, to be very descriptive with your bones. And then she also has this little bow that I need to make sure is there in the shoe. And we're going to put this leg top right up here. And again, the reason we're doing that is because we are assigning each art slot to the bone specifically. So now if we do this, you can see she can move her feet. You can also see that her outline is not really moving great. We can fix that to a degree without meshes. It'll just take a little bit of back and forth of moving this exactly where it needs to go. What we're going to do, you can see that this rotation isn't really working great. It needs to be tweaked and fussed with. So what I'm going to do is go to multiply so that I can find the center of her leg, because I already planned for this. You can see the center of her leg, and I'm going to turn images on so that I can kind of turn images and bones on so that I can center her leg more appropriately to try and get this working at least better. So here we go. This is a trick I learned from Flash days when we didn't have fancy bones and whatnot. You had to get things to rotate as you could. There we go. So that should probably make it rotate nicer. That should do it. So now that her leg is here, right, we can turn this off multiply and her leg will rotate better. There's still this line thing. Just for this purpose, just go with it. It works pretty good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to copy this set here, this duplicate here, and it's going to make like leg top front too. And we're just going to move it here. And again, we'll go to the slot order and we'll change them to where we need to change them. And there we go. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for these tags and name them pretty quickly. I'm going to click on this guy. It's a magnifying glass and a pencil. And I'm going to find, you can always move it so you can actually see what you're looking for. Front 2. And it's like, oh, the leg bottom stuff, wild. Yeah, click that and replace it with back. And we're going to do it for the entire project. Sometimes you might want to do it for specific skins, but you know, match case or tree selection, everything looks pretty good here. And I'm just going to say replace. I'm also going to tint it just a little bit here, just a hair, just enough to kind of show it's a little different. I'm going to copy this code to make sure that it matches the one above it because it's under her skirt, so I can't super see. Just kind of paste it right there. And then do the same for her shoe, just so that the shading is consistent, even if it's a little minimal. There we go. So now that we have the basics on the skeletal rig, I'm just going to go ahead and do sort of the rest of her, and we'll get to the face in a little bit. Okay, now that we kind of have like a basic body going, we're going to do a few face controls and then sort of take it from there. So I'm going to click on the noggin control and go to create, and let's start with her eyebrow because I've been wanting to move that forever. So I'm going to go eyebrow, give it kind of like a up-down thing. You'll notice that it is not actually up-down on here. What you can do for that is, well, it's not attached to any images yet. So I'm just going to rotate that to be like 90. Just, it's for my eyes mostly. It doesn't actually change anything yet. And then I'm going to go to her eyebrow here. Click and drag just like we've been doing, and there we go. So I'm going to take the bone and kind of drag it down because it's been tangenting on her glasses this whole time and it's been driving me a little cray. And we kind of do that for most of it as far as this like basic. I think logically it would make sense to drag the underlip into her mouth. So you know, if you want to change the parenting pretty quickly, you can go to the hierarchy and click and drag, boom, and now the mouth will go with her underlip as well. So mouth, back, mouth. You know, just use your common sense really. The hair, I'm going to wait a bit on how to explain the hair till we get to our fancier tutorials. So we can see a mistake I did here. I really should separate her lens with her middle piece. I thought I did that. That's my mistake. So you have a very basic head, um, very basic arms, but you know, if you want to get something going, you could. This is definitely not the strongest that you can make a spine rig, but it is something to kind of start with. Yeah, her skirt's not following. It's because I tried doing a basic one and I could not figure a good way out to do it because I didn't design her for that, like a basic one. It's designed to be a complex rig. But again, if you want to kind of go with things, duplicate the eye, flip it over, duplicate this eye, flip it over, and that's kind of the basics of how to do a spine rig. Create the bones, attach the art, adjust the slots. So now that you know how to make your basic bone structure and spine, we're going to go to the more advanced things like doing meshes and weights, because that's where spine really shows through. And I think that's where you're going to get more bang for your buck. So thank you for watching, and I hope you stay tuned.